artist, producer, and songwriter, Umuti is a multi-genre musician whose career spans across over 20 years, having produced for most of the biggest artists to come out of Eswatini and some artists and DJs in South Africa. Umuti is an artist that recently rebranded, previously known to us as Muzi the Producer. Welcome back to Young Climber. We are still profiling the best to do it in the Kingdom of Eswatini, and this week is definitely no different. We are joined by Umuti, who joins us to talk about his music career and pursuing it as a profession right here in the Kingdom of Eswatini. Muzi, welcome to Young Climber.
Thank you very much. I also welcome you to Young Climber. I'm joking. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Just to start off with, let's talk about your upbringing and, your involvement in Manzini Youth Choir. How did that influence taking music as a profession?
So first of all, correction, there was Manzini Adult Choir.
Oh, yes.
My mom was the chorister.
Yes,
so yeah, growing up in that kind of environment, attending the competitions every single day, kind of sharpened my ear and really just cemented the love that I already had at that time for the music. So getting exposed to it and seeing what being on stage is like and experiencing the behind the scenes, the preps for the shows, understanding wardrobe and the importance of it when you get on stage. And, I think it's played a very huge role in making the artist that I am today. So I really appreciate that.
And now, can you walk us through your journey as, a producer and a songwriter, and of course highlighting some of the pivotal moments in your journey and some that you can vividly remember and say, this made me stick to my profession?
Wow, there's been so many moments in there growing up. But I think for me, where it really happened and when I really decided that I wanted to be that is watching a group. I forgot what the name of the group was, but Begnabo Mandla Mswane.
Yeah.
And I was still in my early primary school days. So watching them prepare for my talent search was a really pivotal moment for me. And I knew I wanted to pursue it, but also not until I had an experience working with him in his studio. Now this was much later in life, in high school. And I really just made the decision. It was like, okay, I think this is it. This is where I want to be in life. And this is what I want to do. Yeah.
And you can definitely, identify as someone who's been an inspiration to most of the young people in Eswatini who've taken upon music as a career. Let's talk about your journey, where it really started professionally, where you felt like, Yati, this is my job.
I don't think it was one particular moment where it started, because so obviously growing up I used to make music at home, write and record myself on the hi-fi. But through high school also, meeting other young people who were interested in music like myself, working together, making music, and then just trying to see where this will go, and entering the talent search as well. And those are the moments that collectively, kind of defined my path in the music. So it was all those different moments put together. Egwakeni, the producer that I am, and it's really amazing that you think that I influenced a lot of people doing it.
I don't think. I think it's something that's there for sure. But also, now we address you as Umuti. Before we continue, to make that clear, let's just talk about the rebrand from Mosaic, which some people still identify you as Mosaic, to, of course, Umuti, and how this new identity, has reflected on your journey now and what it is.
Umuti for me symbolizes growing up. It symbolizes being sure in who I am and my identity, one is a Liswati, but also in what it means to be who I am at home in my family, because my name is actually Sakila Umuti Ngwenya in full, or Sakila Muzi Ngwenya, but yes, Umuti ngale Siswati, well, Muzi ngale Siswati. So for me, it it was really important that I really just got back to who I am and redefine my purpose and my calling in life.
Yeah.
Understanding where Mosaic had been, where we'd taken the arts in the country and music industry in particular, and then now finally deciding that, okay, the beginning stages of my career and of me as a human being in existence, now let's move on to the implementation of a lot of lama goals that we initially started with.
Yeah.
Well, in mind, Nascala, yeah. But really, that's what it signifies for me.
Okay. And now let's talk about taking it back, your journey, your whole journey. You did, identify moments that inspired your profession in music. But were you trained formally to be in music, or were you predominantly like self-taught? And how has this changed your approach in producing and songwriting, or assisted you, most importantly? What are some of the lessons that you've picked up as you went along the way?
Okay. So first and foremost, I think, yes, predominantly self-taught.
Yeah.
The arts industry in the country hadn't been formalized, at least not on the level that it is now. So a lot of the knowledge that I had, it's knowledge that I would just pick up here and there. You read magazines, you read books, but also I think a lot of it was knowing what you want out of what you're doing,
Yeah.
and figuring out how to do it in that space. Akunanzaba ukuthi ufundisekile noma cha-ke, but we'll find a solution for it. Sitatendela ngendlela yethu until we make it. But then obviously at some point, school did have to come in
Yeah.
in order for one to understand the principles behind why certain things are done the way that they're done. Because maybe you just know how to do it, but you don't have an understanding of why it's done that way. And
yeah.
then you get to adapt different models of then making the most of what you initially knew, and then but in the larger sense, self-taught. And what was that last part of the questions?
And how has it helped you in your profession of
yes.
producing and songwriting?
You know what, it's helped me immensely, because I think defining my sound and understanding why I would make, or rather the importance of why I would make the kind of music that I do and the way that I do it was very important for me. You know how to play chords, the basic stuff, but now having the school part come in, you get to understand the principles of how then to apply it. And especially for me, because my music is deeply rooted in cultural sounds and traditional sounds. So now just learning how to incorporate the two and make sure that they work together. In making sure that there's a synergy there and an understanding of how to best express that.
And as someone who's worked with, various artists in the Kingdom of Eswatini and outside of the Kingdom of Eswatini, what advice would you give, to emerging artists looking to be in this industry?
Gee, you know what? The whole advice thing has become very scary now.
Let's talk about which door do you knock on, maybe, to bring it down to that.
Geez. So also the introduction of the internet has made things so dynamic, and it's very difficult to be able to say to someone, oh no, don't do this or do that, do this in this way and not in that way. Because now also the luck element just is predominantly present. And of course, luck is hugely, attributed to being at the right place and at the right time. And the internet has made it easier for people to be at the right place at the right time, because you post and your post could go viral in one day, and at the same time
or
you could
ruin
post
your life.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But I think one of the most important things in that is maintain your authenticity. Know who you are, and constantly be aware that there'll always be factors outside of that will try and get you into a specific box. try to avoid boxes because nobody listens to music in boxes anymore. There's no genres anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the R&B, well, largely it doesn't exist like it did in the traditional sense. So, you know, just be you, be expressive of who you originally are. And people are really hungry for original sound as well. So it's also very important for one to be sure about who they are and express that as authentically as possible. Yeah.
And now let's talk about live performances and live music for you.
Yeah.
Of course, there are other settings that you get to, perform in, but can you talk about the live performance factor? Which one is the most memorable for you, and how was it, and where was it?
Jeez, wow. So I'll have memorable performances for different reasons. There's ones that genuinely will humble you, where you get on a stage and you cannot believe how many people are singing your song. A song that you recorded and you didn't think it was going to be a big song, and you get on stage and as soon as you start singing, everyone is singing on your behalf. They're singing for you, and it's just like, wow. And then there's ones where you fumbled and you wish you didn't fumble and you're like, I'll never get that moment back.
Yeah.
And it happened once. I was performing for His Majesty's, I think it was his birthday or something, Galozita. And yeah, I literally lost my lines. I missed my cue, so I just started freestyling. And it was a song that everyone knew. And
so they
they were like, is that even the song? But yeah, largely it's just those where people will shock you. And I think every performance is different in that regard, because you get to a stage and you think you know how people will react, and they're just there really vibing with you and genuinely as well. And I think that's one of the most beautiful experiences, where you share your experiences with people and people just receive it in the most positive of ways, and they're vibing with you and they're singing along to the songs. Even the ones that they don't know, you teach them one time and they sing along to them because you are that artist.
Yes.
And not because you're popular, but because of how you manage to establish that connection. And once you establish it with the fans, it's very difficult to break that. Yeah.
All righty, thank you so much. We are still talking to Umuti. When we return, we talk about his upcoming music projects and, of course, many more things pertaining his music journey. We will be right back. Back, and now we unpack Umuti, as a business person, if you did not know. Umuti, let's talk about now your business endeavors, and of course you as an entrepreneur. How do you balance being a musician and an entrepreneur? Let's talk about your dual pursuit and how you're handling it.
I'm not handling it. I'm struggling. Oh my God. I'm joking. I think the beauty of it is that one feeds off of the other, and for the longest time I just had the record label and we were producing music, and then we grew into producing adverts for corporate, so it was still a part of that passion. It wasn't so far off of it. Now it's slightly grown, it's expanded. We have a creative agency, so we're doing the different aspects of marketing and advertising, or rather content creation for marketing and advertising. So, but still, it's still within the same space. Yeah, so it's fairly easy to maneuver around, yeah.
Now let's talk about what excites you the most, about collaborating with new artists, and especially how do you pick who to collaborate with, or are you riding with the wave? If there's a brand new artist who's doing great things, like I want to work with that one. What is your selection process, basically?
For me, it's very easy. It has to be a spiritual connection. And I know it's very easy to say spiritual connection in a broad sense, but I think it's just a vibe thing. You know, when you meet with someone and the energy is right, then okay, cool, we'll do it. And it's as simple as that for me. And I've not worked with many different artists just purely because our energies weren't right. And it's not to take away from their creativity or from their talent, but it's just that.
And now you do have a new upcoming music project.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we talk about that and what your fans can expect, you know, from you being silent for a while and then coming back? How are we supposed to receive this?
I think receive it as a new artist. Don't expect to listen to Mosaic because that brand is no longer in existence. Have an open mind and understand that I have grown as a musician, but I've also grown as a human. So my stories have changed. Well, not changed, but have grown in their expression. So just listen to the music with an open mind. Yeah.
And then can we talk about your your latest single, Likolide, sorry, and the creative process behind it.
Yeah. So initially, Likolide was just supposed to be the one song, so it was supposed to be a single release.
Yeah.
But then I decided to release a 3-track EP, and for me, that was mostly just driven by the fact that I haven't been active in a very long time. So I wanted to give people more value for during my first appearance. The creation process for that, it's been almost 3 or 4 years in the making. Like literally it was supposed to be a full body of work, but I've decided to break it up because also the dynamics of the industry is you can take out a project today, an album today, and tomorrow it's no longer relevant. So it makes sense to spread the music across at least a timeline or a certain time frame. So I give people the 3 songs today, I'll give them another 3 songs in another 3 months, and so on and so forth. So that will give me a little bit of time to get people to experience the music that I've been working on over the 3 years maybe that I've been working on it.
Right. And as an established artist, what are some of the initiatives or support do you think that the Department of Arts and Culture can provide to better support local creatives in the music industry?
My God, that's a very difficult question.
Besides, give us the money.
I mean, it's very easy to say, yeah, just give us money, give us money. But I think it's more platforms that will enable us to create. But I think more than that now, because what I personally have observed is that there's a lot of, we're receiving a lot of content from outside. So it's very easy to be influenced by those sounds and the dynamics of what's happening around the world. And it's very difficult to find a sound that is from Eswatini for us to have music that we can put out on the world stage and say, oh, this is authentic Swazi music. There's still very few artists that are coming up with that sound and still developing. So I think it's those platforms in my workshops and talk sessions about that creative process on how we can maintain our authenticity as Emaswati and then package it for the rest of the world. And then outside of that, regulating the industry, coming up with structures that will help us monetize what we're doing so that, when we're performing or charging corporates, I'm not charging 10 Rand and there's another artist who's charging 100 Rand. And it's like, okay, what's the standard here, But yeah, it's all those very important talks that need to be had.
And they are very, very important. But how do you stay connected with your fans? And how do platforms like social media play a role in marketing your brand, and remaining Umuti loved as Mosaic was?
I am terrible at that. I hate social media. I'll come out and say this live. I hate social media. I've been, scolded by my people, my friends, my family, and people that I work with as well, because I don't like to share aspects of my life on social media, but I'm learning that is very important. But I think also, once again, when you're authentic, the people will automatically resonate with
you,
whatever you're doing. So you can disappear for 5 years, and when you come back, there's people that will be excited that you're back. And people will be hungry for what you're doing because you do what you do well. And at the time that I was on social media, I gave people good content in as far as the music is concerned. So ultimately, people are still hungry for my music, and I was noting this on the socials as I was doing the promos for the EP, that people genuinely are excited and cannot wait to consume the music that I'm putting out. But yeah, I promise to learn how to do that social media management thing.
Because you have to, I mean, everything revolves around social media these days. Let's talk about lessons now. Lessons. What are some of the lessons that you've learned throughout your musical journey, be it personally and, of course, professionally, and how have they altered your music life?
Lessons. Some of the hard ones is people are not your friends.
Oh, yes.
People are not your friends, and it's okay to work with them and have genuine vibe because you have a common goal. You can work with them and be excited about the same things, but know that they're not your friends. And also, if you don't prioritize your own happiness, it will always be hinged on somebody else being present or doing something. Therefore, you will easily be disappointed when people don't show up for you like you expect. Yeah. But I think at the top, those are the ones that have stood out for me, especially in the growth that I've been through in the past few years. Yeah.
And you also very excitedly are part of a podcast.
Yes.
You know, you're part of a very controversial creative item, I can say, because
Controversial.
what is said there can alter everyone on the team's life.
Yeah, true.
Honestly. How are you handling that, and can you tell us what you're part of?
What's the story?
Yeah.
That's a podcast, Banele Wigelim. We just love music.
It's Wigelim.
Well,
But anyways.
we call him Wigelim. But yeah, Banele, we just love music.
Yes.
And he's one of the most genuine spirits that you can ever come across. And I think that's one of the things that made me really excited to be a part of the podcast. But genuinely, the podcast is one of the most authentic spaces where people can share their story and just be themselves. We find the most talked about people and we allow them a platform to share their experiences and to give their side of the story, hence what's the story. And Claiming Ground Creatives or Claiming Ground Records is involved as the sound production company on the podcast. So we do audio production, but we're also very much part of the production overall of the whole podcast.
Now, looking ahead.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself in 5? I'm joking.
I could have easily answered that, but yeah, go ahead.
Looking ahead, what are some of your aspirations and goals for your future? I mean, both in music and, of course, as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I think right now, for the business primarily, I'd like to work on some international campaigns. There's a few that I have in mind that I want to target specifically and see if I can develop some content for, so that by the time maybe I get the opportunity to pitch, I'm ready and prepared for it. But musically, trying to take the brand internationally, you know, I'm trying to do a lot of international festivals and just get the music as out there as possible. Yeah.
And then as we close off, what are some of the words that you'd like to share with your fans and, of course, aspiring musicians in the Kingdom of Eswatini?
Wow. Gee, guys, I think my words of advice will be very simple to you. Put God first in everything you do. And when you do that, you become more in tune with who and what your purpose is in life, and it will make things a whole lot easier to maneuver around. But also the cliche, stay in school, say no to drugs. Have a good night. I've always wanted to do that.
Thank you so much to Umuti for joining us for this week's episode. Please remember to tune in every Tuesday at 6:30 as we unpack beautiful journeys in the Kingdom of Eswatini. But for tonight, it is goodbye.